Hey my lovelies, great to see you again. I hope you got to go see my first video and gave it some love. If you haven't already, please go give it some love. I would like to introduce you to this new video, which is going to be my childhood favorites. I read a lot when I was a kid, which has obviously stayed with me as an adult. And I just wanted to share some of my favorites, and hopefully you read some of the same ones, or you have some favorites that you loved. And if you do, please comment below and let me know what they are. I would love to know. And if any of these you also read, please tell me which ones and let me know, because I would love to read those. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first books I'm going to talk about are the Aussie nibbles, which are basically a staple for anyone learning to read in Australia. I don't know if you can get them in other countries. I know they're Aussie nibbles, so maybe it is just an Aussie thing, but if you can and you did read them, please let me know. And you're from another country, I'd love to know if they sort of stretched out to other places. But yeah, as you can see, they've kind of got these little bite marks here, which is why they're called Aussie nibbles. I think there was also another series of these, which was like Aussie bites or something like that. I could be wrong, but I believe there was, and it was a slightly different sort of chunk. These were, as I said, such good starter books for any sort of budding little bookworms who dig their teeth into and just sort of get started with books. They have really big writing, so as you can see, like the lettering is quite large, and then they also have pictures as well, so it's sort of definitely the perfect starter for someone who is learning to read. I love them. I had a couple of them, as you can see, these ones, but my favorite was My Amazing Poo Plant, which is a little bit of an odd one to be my favorite, but I just loved it. For some reason, when I was a kid, I had this obsession with the word poo. I used to say it all the time. A little bit of a weird confession from me right now, but I did. So that was me. This book just kind of kept that going, probably ignited something even further, which is probably not a great thing, but that's fine. I'd like to say I've completely grown out of it, but I definitely haven't. I still probably use it as a joking insult sometimes, the word poo, but other than that, I do not say it as much as I did when I was a kid, but this one was just so good. It was this story of this girl who had a pot plant and a bird poos in the pot plant, and she wants to see if she can get a plant to grow from the droppings that land in the pot, which in the end she does. Sorry, a little bit of a spoiler alert, but can Emily really grow a poo plant from a bird's droppings? So that was one of my favorites, and I think the thing that I loved the most about these was that they were all so crazy and weird and different. Like, you had normal ones, or not normal ones, but sort of like A Mermaid's Tale, which was kind of a bit more sort of on the generic side, and then you had, as I said, the poo plant. You also had the gorilla suit, which was just weird and wonderful, and I think it was so good because they had something for everyone, and there's always different writers and always different illustrators, so you're always getting something different with each of them, so there's definitely something for everyone. So those were sort of a good foray into reading, something easy, something fun, and I really enjoyed those. So my next childhood fave was the Pearly books. I only ever had two. I'm actually not sure if there's more than this. I'm sure there probably was, but I just was obsessed with Pearly. So there was this one which was Pearly in the Park, and then there's this one which is Pearly and the Big Doll, which for some reason I absolutely was obsessed with Pearly in the Park. I loved reading Pearly and the Big Doll as well, but definitely not as much. I just was obsessed with this one, and as you can see, it's so colourful in all of the animation and the writing. It's still pretty big as well, like the writing's quite big too, so still a good one for anyone learning to read or just trying to get into reading. The animation is amazing, all of the expressions from all the animals, because she has a lot of friends in the park that are animals that she lives with and lives around, and she just She's so animated, her expressions, the animation in this is amazing, it's beautiful. And she's so expressive and strong and bold, and she's bossy, but she's allowed to be bossy, and that's her, and everyone loves her for who she is. And I think that was why I loved this story so much, because she was allowed to be exactly who she was, and everyone still loved her for that. And obviously, being a child story, it definitely gives you a little lesson in it, which is always good and always nice when you're a child to have a little bit of a lesson weaved in between. And so the blurb for this one is, everyone has heard of the fairies who live at the bottom of the garden, but did you know that fairies also live in the big city? Of course they do. Meet Pearly the park fairy. Pearly looks after Jubilee Park and it keeps her very busy, but one day she wakes up to find everything is topsy-turvy. Hurly burly, what can have gone wrong? It's up to Pearly to find out. So lots of fun, really kooky words, and I just loved it. I loved Pearly, I loved everything about it, and I think it was just a really great story for me, and I think it would be a really great story for any child that was interested in fairies or friendship or animals. So yes, love those, and I hope that they're still being published. I'm not 100% sure, but if they are, totally pick it up for any child that has any of those interests at all, or just loves pictures and animation. And like I said, it has bigger letters and words, so very helpful for someone who's learning to read. So my next books are the Judy Moody series. So they are done by Megan McDonald and illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds. So these are a series of books all surrounding this girl, Judy Moody. So there's Judy Moody Predicts the Future, we've got Dr. Judy Moody, we've got Judy Moody Saves the World, and we've also got Judy Moody Gets Famous. So I have the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I don't know why I don't have the 1st, but that doesn't really matter, I guess. I loved these books. They were sort of more lessons in a way, and now that I look back at them and had quite a bit of a look in what the content was on them, they're actually quite to do with lessons. And as her name is Judy Moody, a lot of it is about emotions and behaviors and learning to deal with our emotions as a child and growing up, and knowing what to do with those emotions and how to deal with them and express them and all those things. So there's specifically this one which I loved, which was Judy Moody Predicts the Future, which is this one here. And it has a lot to do with sort of dealing with your own anger and knowing where to put it and knowing how to calm yourself down and knowing how to express it at the same time. She also has a little brother, and even though I don't have a little brother, I have an older brother, I was still able to connect to the relationship that they had, and it taught me a lot about dealing with sibling squabbles and things like that. Did I learn those lessons straight away? No, probably not. Did it take me a while to really let them sink in? Probably, but I think the stories that came from them were really beautiful, and the lessons were also really great too. So this blurb for this Judy Moody Predicts the Future is, Judy Moody has a mood for every occasion, and now she has a mood ring to prove it. Judy's mood ring has extra special powers which have put Judy in a predicting mood. According to Madam M, for Moody, the Toad P Club's long-lost mascot will reappear. Judy will earn a coveted tricorn hat sticker for getting 110% in her spelling test, and love may be the real reason behind her teacher's new glasses. So every chapter is a little bit of a different story, but it all connects at the same time. So yeah, these ones as well, they have not as big writing as the last two, but it's still quite big, and they also have some pictures too, so that helps as well to visualize the story and understand the characters and what's going on. And yeah, I think these are also some really good starter books. Again, I don't know if they're still in production, but if they are, a great pickup for maybe a child that is struggling to deal with their emotions or learn how to express them. I think these are really great to help with that. My next book is The Adventures of the Wishing Chair, which I absolutely loved. I was obsessed with it. It was a hardback and I felt really, really fancy when I held it and used it. Now, funnily enough, I'm definitely a paperback girl, but when I was a kid and when I was reading through this and stuff, I just felt really fancy and adult and mature when I had a hardback cover. I just loved this. It's about Molly and Peter, who are siblings, which again, siblings relates to my life. Every chapter is a different story, and it's all surrounding this chair that they're in with the little red wings. So they can make a wish to go somewhere or do something, and the chair will grow the little wings and take them wherever they want. And every chapter is a new adventure that they go on together. And the writing is just beautiful. It's by Enid Blyton, and it's so imaginative and so creative, and it makes you want to believe anything's possible, really. It's just beautiful. There's this story about the giant in the castle, and they get locked in the castle with the chair, and they have to figure out how to trick the giant to let them escape and be free. There's this other story as well, which is about this dreamland that the chair takes them to, but it's just the craziest dreamland you could ever imagine. Anything that you could ever imagine up, and anything maybe you couldn't imagine up, can happen in this dreamland. And even at one point, Peter has to carry around Molly, and they end up making through the chapters this friend, an elf called Chinky. And Chinky and Molly get turned into balloons, and Peter has to carry them around until they turn back into people again. So it's just, all the stories are just magical and amazing like that. And it really ignited my creativity and my imagination, and it just helped to foster that. And I think that's a really important thing as a kid. I think as well, it's definitely smaller writing, as you can see. So it's definitely for a little bit older. But at the same time, it still has pictures. The content is easy to read and easy to follow and just magical and wonderful. And I could not recommend this book more. Please, if you have a child, get it for them. I'm sure this book is still in publication. I don't see how it couldn't be. It's just amazing. I loved it so much. Please pick it up if you can. It's so good. It's such a classic in my mind, at least. So for my second last books, I'm going to be talking about the Rainbow Magic books. They are definitely a massive highlight of my life. They have in this book, it has 7 books, and this is a series. So they come in series, or they can come in individual books. I had this one, which was Holly the Christmas Fairy. And then there was also this one, which was Stella the Star Fairy. I loved these ones because they have that beautiful sparkle on them. I was obsessed with them when I got them. And then these are more of the classic ones that you can get, which are just individual, very thin, just novels about the one fairy. And I was obsessed with any of the ones that had animals in it. If I haven't already mentioned, I really wanted to be a vet when I was a kid, and I was obsessed with animals. So any ones that had animals in it, Georgie the Guinea Pig Fairy, I've got Harriet the Hamster Fairy, any ones like that, yes, that was mine. I was getting it, I was reading it. So these were just absolutely magical. Their outfits, I absolutely loved their outfits. Every single one of the fairies had a really cool, really beautiful outfit that was just amazing. And I loved their powers, the fact that they were so individual as well. They all had their individual powers, and all of their stories revolved around exactly what their powers were. It was amazing. It was just such good storytelling. They, again, are quite big in terms of font, and they also have some pictures. But they also were just really good in terms of stories about friendship as well, which are really important when you're a child and you're learning to make your own connections with people. So that was really great too. I literally even took it to the point where my friend Megan and I, when I was in primary school, we would go around the outdoor area in recess or lunch, and we would have a notebook each and like a sparkly pen, and we would pretend, well, at the time we thought it was real, but we would pretend that we saw like sparkles. So we'd be like, oh my God, I just saw green sparkles. It means that this fairy is over there. And we would do that all the time. We'd be like, oh, I just saw blue sparkles. I just saw pink sparkles. Or we would also like make little houses for them in the garden, and we would have to protect them from the little goblins. And yeah, so it was such a massive igniter of my imagination and my creativity. And especially for Megan and I and my friends that did that at primary school, it gave us something to do and something to connect over, which was even more exciting. It helped me make friends, which is so important, as I've already mentioned. And yeah, it was brilliant. So I'd always really, really wanted one that was my name. So I finally got, at one point, this the Sapphire Fairy book, which I was so excited to get. And I bring this up because I just wanted to talk about as well. I remember very, very pointedly and very, very vividly getting this book and realizing, oh, I don't look anything like the girl on the front, which I was disappointed about at the time. I was like, oh, Sophie the Sapphire Fairy, but it doesn't look anything like me. But I realize now how much, with knowledge and learning and understanding about privilege and actually having visibility and being shown in different things, that I was so lucky. I was so lucky as a child that I had so many opportunities to see books and novels and TV shows and things like that with girls that looked like me. And I understand now I had so much privilege in that. I really do think once they got going, they really managed to include all types of girls of all different ethnicities, and I think that is really important. And I think the fact that they actually decided to include that and put that in and make that effort is really, really important. And I think, as I said, if I didn't have the chance to see myself in any of the girls in these books, I think that would have been really hard. And I think that was my first moment with this one of being like, oh, it doesn't look like me, and being disappointed, which I'm sure happened for so many girls for such a long time. And ever since they were born to a certain time, it really took them ages to see someone in books and novels and things like that who looked like them. And I just think that's really important. And I'm so happy that now that we're seeing that come through more. It's definitely not to the standard that it should be, but I think it coming through more is really, really important, because seeing someone just like you doing amazing things is really inspiring and really, really great when you're a child. So I just wanted to mention that. I think was just an interesting point that I thought, because it has been a memory of mine that I was sort of disappointed at the time because she didn't look like me. And now I realize what a privilege it was to have so many other books where characters did look like me. So one book not looking like me is probably, it doesn't matter. It's all good. It's all good. So love these books. Please, if they're still going, again, as I've said with like all of these books, sorry to harp on it, I really don't know if they're still in production, but if they are, great books. I love them. Please pick them up. So for my last series, I'm going to be talking about the Dragon Keeper series. It's definitely a series that I would think would be more of a high school or a little bit older series. I read it when I was in high school, so I guess that can give you a little bit of an idea of sort of when. I guess I'm pretty sure I read it more sort of year 7, year 8, year 9, roughly. I couldn't really tell you exactly, but definitely more towards the start of high school. But yes, I was absolutely obsessed with this series. It's got 3 main books, and then the end one is kind of like a prologue to all these 3. So it's such an amazing story. It is so beautiful. It's fantasy, obviously. Wouldn't have guessed that with literally all the fantasy that I've already shown. I'll read the blurb of the first one. Ancient China, Han Dynasty, a slave girl saves the life of an aging dragon and escapes her brutal master. Pursued by a ruthless dragon hunter, the girl and the dragon make an epic journey across China carrying a mysterious stone that must be protected. This is the story of a young slave girl who believes she is not worthy of a name but finds within herself the strength and courage to make this perilous journey and do what must be done. I remember reading it, and she's so strong and she's so amazing of a character. She's strong, she's independent, she's fearless. She does everything in her power to help this dragon and do what she can. And I learned so much from her. I wanted to be her. She was amazing. I remember I was so obsessed with these books that in book club, they did this quiz where you answered a certain amount of questions, and if you answered the most correctly, then you got signed copies of Carol Wilkinson's The Dragon Keeper series. And I was so crazy obsessed with it that I ended up winning 2 because I did so well. So this one is the first one, and that one is signed and stamped to Sophie, Carol Wilkinson, and I was over the moon. I was like crazy excited about it. And then I also got, not the second one, but I got the third one, which is The Garden of the Purple Dragon as well, which was also signed. And I was just over the moon and crazy excited and couldn't believe it. And it was just the best day ever. So you've got The Dragon Keeper, which is the first one. You've got Dragon Moon, which is the second one. As I already mentioned, The Garden of the Purple Dragon is the third one. And then you've got this sort of prologue, which is the Dragon Dawn book. I cannot recommend them more. They inspire so much in me. And for me, as a high school student, I was using books as an escape. And I definitely believe that these are perfect books if you are looking to have a little bit of an escapism moment and read them and just forget about the world. And I just loved it. I love the fact that she had this best friend and companion for life, which was a dragon, which was just amazing. Because when I was in high school, friendship was kind of hard for me. I had a lot of friends, but it moved around a lot, and I went to an all-girls school, so it became a little bit bitchy a lot of the time. And so I lent back on books, I lent back on the library, on the book club, and they helped me. And they, as I said, they just let me escape into a world that was magical and amazing, that was a little bit different to what was going on in my real life, which I think that's a lot of the reasons why a lot of people read books, is that they want to just have a little bit of an escape moment. And these allowed me to do that. So I thank these massively for that. And I think if you have a child who is really into reading and just really wants a series that they can get their teeth into, I would really recommend this one. So please grab it for them if they really, really love reading and they're in like early high school, because I cannot recommend it more. So that's the end of this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope it brought back some nostalgia for you and sort of made you think of your childhood and some memories and some good times. And I really hope, as I said, if you read any of the books that I talked about when you were a child, please comment below and let me know. Please let me know of any of your favorite books that you love that were your childhood books. I love talking about anything books, as this YouTube suggests. So please do that, like and subscribe as well. That would be amazing. And I will see you next time. So goodbye, but not forever, my beautiful bookworms.